877-3DP Show, best and worst of the weekend. Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, and you'll find him on Football Night in America. His latest novel, once again, it's a novel called Big Shield. It's a tale of gambling, the mob, and Pro Football League that is definitely not the NFL. The ebook is available on Amazon for only 99 cents. Have you heard from the NFL at all about this book that's not supposed to be based on the NFL?
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet. And I think their approach will be just ignore it and hope it goes away, and let's not make this into a thing. As you were doing the read, though, it struck me, because we don't have an audiobook yet, and I think that people would expect me to do it despite the very annoying voice that I possess. Would you like to, could we work something out? Would you like to do the audiobook? I think that would.
Wait a minute, how many pages?
It's 400 pages.
No. How
Can I get you to do a chapter?
How about I do a chapter?
We do a chapter and we make that the sample, and then we do the bait and switch, so they think it's your voice.
Yeah.
And then when they get it, they're like, oh, no, it's him.
I've done it before, and it's a lot of work. I had to do it in segments where I'd come in for a day and do 3 hours, and then wait 5 days and come in and do, because it's tough on your voice to be able to do that.
My agent's been negotiating deals for me to do the audio version of my 3 prior novels and this one. And in theory, it sounds good. In practice, it's probably going to be an all-day thing, frustrating, annoying. You got to get it just right. Oh, I got a word wrong. I got to go back and do that again. So, yeah.
Fritzy,
the offer's open if you want to do it.
Yeah, Fritzy just said that he volunteered.
Okay.
Yeah, he'd be happy to do that.
When we come back, Chapter 3, this is The Shield on Amazon.
All right. Hello, Kevin Harlan there. All right.
That's good.
You wouldn't be able to keep up that energy.
Definitely not.
No. Okay. You talk about gambling, and I'm watching the Eagles-Rams game.
I know exactly where you're going. Jordan Davis. And here's the reality. This is the direct result of the NFL going from hating and shunning anything to do with gambling to jumping right in bed and loading the pockets. They're the guy in the old game show where you go into the booth where the money's flying everywhere. Yeah. They're just grabbing as many dollars as they can while it's there. But yeah, we're all aware now of the point spread. We're all aware of the ramifications. And how many millions of dollars changed hands because Jordan Davis decided to do not the smart thing. The smart thing, the game's over. Just fall down. You got the win. Because in theory, somebody comes up from behind, does the Don Beebe to Leon Lett, the ball goes out, the Rams take it the other way. The smart thing to do is go down. He runs it in for a touchdown. The Eagles cover. Uh-oh. And it was perfectly legitimate, but when you open Pandora's box, this is the kind of stuff that flies out, and people are aware of this. So it's just part of the stuff the NFL needs to be concerned about. And sometimes I wonder, Dan, are they as concerned as they should be?
What changed, though, with Roger Goodell? Because everybody was against gambling, and then all of a sudden, something changed.
Well, they were holding the rope as tightly as they could against gambling when different states were trying to challenge the federal law from 1992 that basically said no states other than the states that currently have it, Nevada, can have sports wagering. And that became different levels and types of legal challenges until New Jersey finally won. But back in the days when the NFL was actively fighting it, that's when the commissioner would say, for example, and I'm paraphrasing, but if legalized gambling is widespread, normal incidents of the game will be suspected to have been influenced by other things, like, whether it's a bad call or a guy not going down when basic football expectations would be you've won the game, go down. But the normal incidents of the game become fodder for the fixes in. And once they recognized, I believe, how much money could be made, and the one thing that never gets talked about is the fact that owners are allowed to separately own up to 5% of a company that operates a sports book, and they won't tell you who owns what, but they're allowed to be the house too. They don't just have the sponsorships with all the major sports books. The owners individually can own up to 5% of companies that operate sports books. That's where the money is. So it's always follow the money. And I'm a capitalist. I'm not saying it's wrong, but that's what happened. They realized, you know what? We've hated this. We fought against it. If it's going to be inevitable, let's turn it into a revenue stream. And they've turned it into a massive revenue stream.
I hear and I read conflicting reports on the tush push. Is it going to survive? Like, it'll survive this season, but then next season. And I thought when Dean Blandino live during a broadcast said, "I give up. I don't know how to officiate this play." And I thought that's the out for the NFL because the safety numbers aren't there. This is about we can't call this. I don't know how you can't call somebody when the guards move on the Eagles' offensive line. Like that's easy to call. Spotting the football is still a challenge on that play. Is it back next year?
I think right now the wind is blowing in the direction that it won't be. And the moment, I believe, based on everything I've seen, everything I've heard, and just my own kind of like, what's really going on here? In the NFC Championship, when Frankie Louvu of the Commanders repeatedly jumped offside, to the point where the referee threatened the Eagles with the Commanders, with what would be called a palpably unfair act, and we're just going to give the Eagles the touchdown. That's never happened before. It's in the rule book, but it's never happened. I think the commissioner watching that game, and I'm assuming it was him because he's got the power to make these dominoes fall if he wants. I think he saw that and he said, we can't have this. We just can't have this. So it was that week Mike Pereira was appearing somewhere and said that moment could be basically the death knell of the tush push. It's like, wait a minute. The effort to stop it, because the effort to stop it goes to those extremes. They're just going to get rid of the play. But then we saw what happened. And it's been one straw man after another. Oh, it's a safety risk. The data doesn't back it up. Well, it doesn't look like football. Well, what the hell does that mean? And now, Dan, I think you've hit on it. It's going to be, we just can't officiate it. We just can't officiate it. And I was told yesterday, look, it's an extremely difficult play to officiate, and this is what the membership voted for. And I think that's the attitude of the league office. I think the league office generally would like to get rid of it. They were 2 votes short. 68% of the teams voted to get rid of it. 2 votes short to get to 75%. And I think once the season ends, there's going to be some arm twisting to get from 22-10 to 24-8 and get rid of it.
But the Eagles are still going to be successful.
They're still going to run a quarterback sneak that you can't stop. And the guards are still going to leave early. But there's just something about that play being the symbol and the thing. And you're right. It's not going to change the effectiveness of having a quarterback who can squat 500 pounds.
And I think that their success rate prior to this rule or using the tush push was very similar to what their success rate is with it. And it's because you have a quarterback that is unlike any other quarterback in Jalen Hurts. We're talking to Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk Live co-host, contributor to Football Night in America. The latest novel, Big Shield. Once again, gambling, mob, pro football, and it's not about the NFL.
Definitely not.
Ebook available at Amazon for 99 cents.
I'm trying to get you sued with me. How about that?
No.
I'll represent us all for free.
Really?
Yeah.
You against the NFL?
Yeah. That'd be a book on its own. I saw the Billy Joel documentary, which was just awesome. And when the Catholic Church tried to push back against Only the Good Die Young, the end result was him sending a letter to the archdiocese saying, "Can you please do that for all my songs?"
He got a whole lot of publicity there. I'm trying to figure out if 3 weeks is long enough, 3 games to figure out a team, figure out who these teams are. How many teams do you not have a handle on?
I think it's difficult to figure out all of them because the one thing that we know will happen, there will be injuries. And how do you deal with the injury? Is the next man up going to be good enough to keep things rolling? Can you weather the storm until the key player comes back? And we know that happens every year. But I think we kind of have an idea. We've already had an idea, the 8 teams that legitimately have a chance. Do they fall off due to injury? The Bengals have. I don't know that they were in the 8. Maybe they were in the 10 or the 12. But we know the good teams. We know the bad teams. It's in between. Is there a team that is just going to catch lightning in a bottle? Is something going to happen? Are they going to get better on the fly? Teams always change from week 1 to week 18. It's such a long season. They're going to get better. They're going to get worse. And it could be that one of these teams in the middle of the pack. And I think back to the Patriots, the year they won their first Super Bowl, they were like 5-5, 10 games in. It can break one way or the other. We see that happen. But right now, we know the best, we know the worst, and then there's this cluster of we don't know and we'll find out.
I thought about this yesterday. I'm watching games and what's going on with the Clippers with Kawhi Leonard and Steve Ballmer. What would prevent owners from doing side deals and circumventing the salary cap in any sport?
I think if you're smart you can get away with it. You can always get away with finding a way to funnel money to somebody. After Pablo Torre reported on what was going on with the Clippers, allegedly, someone reached out to me and said, you know what, there was a team 20 years ago that had a separate in-house video production company. And they would use that to pay players who weren't on the team to keep them from going to play for other teams. And it was a great little way to have a side roster that you stashed, and everybody was properly compensated so they weren't looking for other jobs. But you had these extra guys. I don't know how many it was, but that's what they did. And the sense I got is that they weren't the only team. Now, I don't believe that's currently happening still, but how hard would it really be?
Why wouldn't you think that would be happening in any sport?
If you're smart and if you're discreet and if you can trust the people that you're giving the money to, I think that's the key, though. Because it's one thing for a guy to keep his mouth shut while he's being paid by you. But I think if this was something widespread over the past 30 years of the salary cap, if there was something like that, I'd like to think someone would have spilled the beans by now. Somebody would be pissed off about how it all ended. I didn't get that last check, or you owe me a little bit more, or, guy just is out one night and he has a couple of pops and he decides to say something to a reporter. I'm surprised we haven't heard more about it, because I think it's naive to assume. And Pablo had a great take last week about Steve Ballmer. These really rich guys can buy anything and everything they want except that championship. And it's got to drive them crazy. So what do they have? They have money. Let's find a way to throw more of the money at this thing that we can't buy.
Tom Brady did the Bears game yesterday with the Cowboys, and then his Raiders are going to be playing the Bears coming up. The conflict of interest is sort of lingering there, and probably going to heat up a little bit more next week. How do you see this end, or does it end in a different way?
It was hiding in plain sight for all of us to see for over a year. But it just shows you the power of actually seeing something. Because the moment we saw the incredible shrinking Tom Brady, because as soon as he realized he was on screen, he hit that button and down that seat went. Because he knew this isn't going to end well. Because that woke everyone up to what we already should have known existed. You can't reconcile his two jobs. I think what's going to happen, because the NFL doesn't want to admit we never should have allowed him to pick both lanes. We should have told him when we did the vote last October on allowing him into the club, you got to pick one or the other. You can't do both. I think what will happen, it'll be like the tush push. If the Raiders ever become really, really good, that's when there's going to be this groundswell. This can't continue. Tom Brady can't continue to be at these games and gather this information. And Dan, the one point that gets lost in all this, because there's been a lot of talk about, well, how much do you really get from a production meeting? The real value is being on the field before the game, when you can hobnob, when people are going to come, they want to talk to you. They're going to come tell you things they shouldn't tell you. You can see what a player looks like. He looks different on TV than he looks on the field. And so it's not just getting ready to face the Bears. It's which free agents from this team would I maybe like to sign? Which assistant coaches are the ones who are really, really the ones? The media has an idea of who the ones who are up and coming should be, but I'm in a position to find out who's really making this team go. He's in an incredible situation that no other owner is in to gather information that can be used. And Antonio Pierce, the former coach of the Raiders, he said it all last week. He told Adam Shine, I know that it's useful because he gave me that information last year.
How does Kirk Cousins get traded?
Well, there's going to have to be a serious season-ending injury for a team that doesn't want to go next man up. And the Bengals, for now, are next man up. And look, the Bengals aren't going to want to give up draft picks because those are cheap young players. They're not going to want to pay Kirk Cousins, and the Falcons are going to want whoever takes on Kirk Cousins to pick up a major chunk of his $27.5 million guaranteed salary this year. But it's going to have to line up just right. And I don't know that it will. I think the one place could be Minnesota, because that's the easiest place to pop him back in. If, for example, J.J. McCarthy comes back and gets injured again, and it's a longer-term injury, and they feel like they can salvage the season, and they don't want to ride with Carson Wentz, who looked okay yesterday. He wasn't horrible. He didn't throw a left-handed interception in his own end zone, so that's progress. So it's going to be something where it's got to fall just right, and it could be that the Falcons decide at some point this year that we're not going to trade him because we're going to put Michael Penix on the bench like the Panthers did last year with Bryce Young and let him take a step back and regroup, because yesterday was rough for Penix and the Falcons.
Your favorite part of the book is what?
Well, the book is told from the perspective of the three main characters. And the first draft of the book, it unfolded in a somewhat different way with a different main character. I decided, and it's a long story, so I'll keep it simple, that part got carved out, and I put a new part in with a new main character who's like the mob figure, who's the guy who gathers the professional athletes. Because it's not just a professional football player in a league that isn't the NFL. It's a professional basketball player in a league that isn't the NBA, and a professional baseball player in a league that isn't the MLB. But he's the guy that makes this thing go. And he was the most fun to write, the most fun to revise and edit. Because when you get a book, you got to read it 20 times. It's like, I really don't want to read this again. But every time I'd read, Johnny Motz is the name of the character. Any Johnny Motz chapter was just fun because he's malicious, but he's stupid, but he's smart. And he's also got a conscience, and it's this complex character that is just a lot of fun because he thinks like a mobster, he talks like a mobster, and that's just always fun to read and just kind of envision what that guy's like.
Did you ever have any dealings with the mob when you were gambling?
I never gambled. My dad was a bookie, though.
Okay.
My dad was a bookie, and he was connected to the crew in the town where I grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia. And the first two novels I did are based on, not inspired by. I don't want to say based on. I want to say inspired by. I don't think any of them are left, but just in case. But he was a bookie connected to that crew, and so I knew a lot of the people who, when I grew up and was able to like Google names and see what they had done or allegedly had done, it was like, oh, I almost said a word I shouldn't say, but it was like, man, like, you know, those are some bad dudes. And my dad was on the periphery of it because he was just, basically, he was a compulsive gambler who realized it's better to be the house. So he became a bookie. But he was just the gambling side of it. And I'm not condoning it or excusing it. That was the way he provided for his family. I was a kid. There was nothing I could do about it. And my mom did a great job of keeping those worlds separate. But there was enough overlap where, yeah, I picked up a lot, how they talk, how they act, just the vibe that they have. I was around a lot of guys like that, and I was oblivious to the fact that, you know, they were capable of doing some pretty bad stuff.
The book is called Big Shield. It's the tale of gambling, the mob, and a pro football league that is not the NFL. Once again, it is not. The ebook available on Amazon for only 99 cents.
Do you read books?
No.
You have all these books and you don't read them. It's a library in here. By the way, I haven't been to this location. Congratulations, because this is incredible. The last place was great, but this is like the last place on steroids. I mean, it's huge and it's open and you got so much stuff and it's all, you could wander around here for like 3 hours and not see everything. It really is incredible.
Thank you, Mike.
You're
Great
welcome.
to see you.
Great to see you.
Mike Florio, when we come back, we will give you our best and worst of the weekend after this.